sound. And when I fall, you tied a rope to me. You're blessing me every day. I was down with an illusion, like a sparrow with broken wings. But now I shine with your reflection on me. I'm getting back up on my feet. That you showed up was written in my palm. You are a statement, explode like a bomb. I get to push myself to victory. You make me winner. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You showed me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You showed me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. Yes, I'm the winner, yeah. 'Cause I'm the winner, yeah. Am I awake or am I dreaming? So far gone, I won't look back. And when I move, there ain't no stopping me. You're pushing me up to the top. I saw the clouds looking angry, but then the sky reached my mind. And when I spaced out, I see the possibilities unfolding the way that I want. That you showed up was written in the palm. You are a statement, explode like a bomb. I get to push myself to victory. You make me winner. You cut me loose and set me free. You cut me loose. You make me win in every way. Win in every way. You show me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You show me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. Yes, I'm the winner, yeah. 'Cause I'm the winner, yeah. 'Cause I'm the winner, yeah, yeah, yeah. Ooh. Yes, I'm the winner, yeah.
Hello, Twitter world places. Sounds like there's a little bit of an echo. Oh, maybe we're good. Okay. So thank you so much for joining us. I have the amazing Joanna Berry joining me, and we're going to be talking about mom life. So thank you so much, Joanna, for joining me. I really appreciate it, especially since I know you're under the weather.
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me. And in the spirit of oversharing and in full transparency, I am coming out of some bronchitis. I'm medicated and on steroids, but that might add to today's LinkedIn Live. So thank you. I'm very excited.
Well, you know, the show must go on, though I totally would have rescheduled.
But hey, I think that this goes with the theme of mom life. The show always goes on, whether we are sick or dead in a ditch. The kids and work often does not care.
Yeah, totally true. So we have some people already joining us. Hello, Elliot. Hello, Marco. Really appreciate it. And we also have someone already live in our studio. For those who don't know or haven't joined me before, you know, I try to create an inclusive experience. And I think, why do I only get LinkedIn Live? You know, why do more people not have it? Well, I think they're making moves towards that. But in the meantime, when I go live, I post the link to my StreamYard studio in the chat so that you could hop on and join me live and creating the only, 100% inclusive experience on LinkedIn Live. So, Joanna, so happy to have you. Leslie, thanks for joining. I will totally get to you in just a minute. We're just going to get started a little bit, and then we'll make sure we add you. So Joanna, in case there's anyone at this point who doesn't know you, because I've been singing your praises left and right, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, my name is Joanna Berry. I have been in sales for, 25 years or so. I, at the ripe age of 12, was knocking on doors asking for, hey, can I wash your car? And no. Okay, great. I'll be back tomorrow. So I've been an entrepreneur at heart. I joined corporate America about 10 years ago. When I graduated from college, people weren't exactly handing out jobs. Many of you may recall the recession was pretty brutal. So at that time, my mom had passed away. I sold all of my belongings. I went backpacking by myself for literally years. And eventually, kind of in the throes of my career, I was on this very dedicated path. My boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband, we became pregnant unexpectedly, and that kind of derailed my idea of everything that was, because I very strongly identified with my career, and none of my friends at the time had kids. And gosh, becoming a mother was very confusing for me, not having a mother, and just, there's no manual. Like, what am I supposed to do with this kid? And everything in between. So I feel very passionate about advocating for women in the workforce, because my experience and my journey to motherhood was a train wreck. I mean, it was really terrible, from everything from disclosing my pregnancy. I had postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression both times. It manifested differently in each pregnancy. And so I did have a second child. Sometimes wasn't sure why, but it's been wonderful. We wanted to make sure we had two. Now they play with each other, and it's amazing. I love being a mother, and I love what I do for work in my career. I think now I feel incredibly confident in who I have become as a professional and as a sales executive. And I didn't have that confidence when I initially became pregnant. A lot can change in 6 years. And I want to share my experiences, because I feel very strongly that in doing so, we can foster one community and, create this village that people keep talking about. I've been asking for the address for years. Nobody's told me where it is. But creating that community and really imparting on mothers, whether new mothers, mothers to be, mothers of any kind, really, that you can do this. We will do this, and together, by supporting one another and lifting one another up, I know that this is it. I think that the times are, maybe not where we would expect them to be, but we can do this. It's not the 50s, and maybe it's not the 2050s, right? But change is in motion and will continue to evolve as we share our stories. So I really appreciate your reaching out, Jen, and hearing my story, my post on LinkedIn, and inviting me to be here today.
Well, thank you for your vulnerability. And there's so much to unpack there, right? I'm sorry about the loss of your mom. I'm sorry that, like, time that's so stressful that you went through it, like, without necessarily the support that you were looking for or hoping for. But I think that's why this is so important, right? Sharing the stories, letting people know that it is all possible. You just have to find the support. You find a way. When there's a way. And I find moms, like, extraordinary on all the things they can achieve and how much they can do. So there was one, when we initially connected, there was one experience you shared with me at the airport that I think really resonates with me as to why it's so important to share these stories. Can you share that with our
Absolutely.
And anyone who's joining us, if you have any questions or want to pop in, please feel free to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in my profession, I am a traveling salesperson, and it is not uncommon for me to hop on a plane and be away for days on end. So probably a year now ago, I was sitting next to a woman maybe 10 years or so younger than myself, and just kind of casual conversation. I think kind of coming out of COVID, I was a little bit socially awkward, but very excited to talk to a human that was not someone I worked with. And she was just this fascinating person. She was an engineer. She was getting her master's, and she was asking me a lot of questions about what I do. And I work in molecular diagnostics. And so we had a lot of synergy. She invests in real estate. I really hit it off. And she said, wow, how do you do it? I work in this male dominant industry. I would love to have a family, but I just feel like I have to choose. I don't think that I could do both. I have a very supportive partner, but I can't imagine, being away for days, or how, and this comes up literally every time I travel, where are the kids, or who takes care of the kids? And I think that could be an entirely different talk.
Yeah.
I believe that men and fathers are incredibly capable, and our kids are still alive and well. So we really dug into that, and what does it mean? And I gave her, as much encouragement as I could. We exchanged phone numbers, but I said, listen, I'm not going to say it's easy. Nothing in this world is easy. I think I read a book once, and the first sentence was, life is hard. And I put the book down. I'm like, well, if that's the one thing I got out of the book, that's good, right? Life is hard, right? But when we look at motherhood and when we look at balancing a career, I said, listen, treat your family and your home life like a business. Automate what you can, outsource what you can, because you have two jobs: being a mother and your career. Anything that you can take off your plate, do it. Respectfully, the whole lean in thing, no, let's lean out, let's do less. If I can, I'd like to create jobs for other individuals. If somebody can make a living, doing something that allows me the time and freedom to focus on what I can do, then great. And it almost had this aha moment for her, wow, I hadn't thought of it that way. And we went into this deep dive and kind of rabbit hole on just this equitable division of domestic labor, which I am really passionate about. I'm like, listen, you can have a supportive partner pre-kids, but as you have a family, the conversations really are going to shift and change. And we still keep in touch. We've had a lot of conversations about it, but I think that her idea has really changed. And I've continually instilled, you absolutely can, and you will. And you're going to find mom friends, and you're going to find community. And I did that. I had not a single mom friend, and I went to a prenatal yoga studio. And those are the best friends that I have to this day. So all kinds of women. And the one thing we had in common was motherhood. But it's, I just don't agree with this, we have to choose. We don't. We have to support one another. Absolutely. Because that is what's going to get us through. And that's what's going to bring all these women back into the workforce. And we're going to help each other, and we're going to be the light, and we're going to continue to push forward. But I don't feel like we have to choose.
I love that. Be the light. And that's also what I believe in. There were times where being a mother, or even my journey to motherhood, I had 3 miscarriages before I had children. Oh, and thank you. But, and it's in the past, but the reason I say it is because, I was traveling like you.
Yeah.
And I kept on traveling and traveling, not realizing that that was a problem, because so many people don't understand that each person is a unique individual. And not all women are okay traveling in the first semester.
Right.
Just not all women are like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't. And as soon as I didn't travel my first semester, I had a healthy baby. But nobody tells you that. The
Right.
things that you don't know are like huge. Doctors, it's, it's a normal thing to travel during that time in a pregnancy. So having the support is so
Right.
important. And, this initial conversation all started out with like a moment that to me was personally heartbreaking for, just reading it, the initial LinkedIn post that you did. But like having support in those moments, because I don't, all the moms I talk to, there's not one mom that I've I've ever met that doesn't have like one terrible mom story. And it's not about the terrible mom story. It's about knowing that you can overcome
Right.
those moments and that there is support and
Mhm.
that there are people here for you, and creating awareness of that for leaders to know not to
Right.
create those terrible mom moments, right?
Oh gosh, absolutely. And to your point, about travel and having the awareness for leaders. I hate to say this. I had a phenomenal leader when I had, just I don't want to assign blame. So I want to be mindful of the words that I use. At the same time, I will say that returning to work absolutely added additional pressure and contributed to my postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. 100%. I shared a post today. We were looking for pictures for a different reason, and I came across a photo of, one of the early weeks of my daughter's life, and my husband had taken it, and I'm just like bleh, crying, and I don't have photos. It's just all of my daughter. But I was under such stress to get back to work. I had incredibly intrusive thoughts. I'm screaming from the rooftops like something's wrong with me, and like nobody's listening. I had a female leader. It's like, oh, like when you're coming back to work, and I'm like, like I don't know if I'm going to make it out of this alive, and the awareness and the conversations, and not all women have postpartum anxiety or postpartum depression. So if you haven't experienced it, what kind of awareness could you really have? And so here I am, my first week back from maternity leave, on an airplane to the East Coast, having panic attacks, just sobbing. I mean, so whether it's travel or really any kind of, there's a laundry list, right? But if we can continue to bring these things to the attention, then perhaps there's going to be some sort of a solution and an accommodation. And there must be, because I sometimes look back at that phase of my life. I'm like, I am proud that I am alive. I hate to say that, but it was a very scary time. And and your experience, I mean, that's devastating. And I'm so sorry that you went through that. That's awful. And yes, it's just that having the conversation is mission critical, and being able to speak up without fear of repercussion. And that's, I think for me, I've had all of this on my chest for 6 years. I didn't say anything until a month ago when you reached out. I didn't say anything, not a thing to anybody, not one person. So,
Well, thank you.
yeah.
I thank you for being vulnerable, and I totally understand the postpartum depression. I work at Salesforce, and I've been here for probably like 8 months or so. But I remember like before I started, I was reading through the benefits, and there was a benefit of being able to ship milk home.
Wow.
While you traveled, that just so impacted me. And the reason is because right after I came back from maternity leave with my first child, I had to fly. And they threw out my breast milk at security. And I lost my mind. Like so bad. I'm lucky I didn't end up like I had a touch of the postpartum. I didn't get it back, but I did have a touch. So when you say that, I totally relate, because sometimes I wonder how I survived that moment,
Yeah, that's liquid gold. I would hate to say this on live TV, but I probably would have punched a TSA in the face.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, they took me back into security. Like it was not good. But that's why it means so much. And that's why benefits that impact someone, like knowing that, like people who want to start a family that have like benefits like that is amazing. And the company that does it is Milk Stork.
And having the benefits,
it's just so
and
amazing.
Retaining the talent. I mean, and you brought up the Google program you recently did. Remarkable.
Yeah.
I've not had the, if I have an achievement, I've shouted it from the rooftops. I had a very humble beginning. I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment with my mom, immigrant parents. We didn't have any, silver spoon going on. So if I had an achievement, I knew I fought tooth and nail. So I wanted everybody to know. So I'll say for the last 10 years, I have been a top tier sales professional. I have had multiple President's Club. I've achieved quota every single time. With that being said, wouldn't you want that in your sales organization?
Yeah.
Right? And isn't it crazy that coming off of President's Club, disclosing my pregnancy was like, oh, you can't do this when you have, a family or whatever. No, well, hold the line, because here I am still hitting quota 6 years running. It's the benefits that you want to keep women, you want to keep your moms, keep us happy, right? It's not like we're asking for anything crazy. In my opinion, I think it's all very reasonable. And, I think COVID, at least in my experience, has really taught us a lot. What can we accomplish virtually? Being able to offer additional accommodations, working from home. I've been, field-based for much longer than COVID, but my gosh, I can't imagine, having to commute to an office, 5 days a week at this stage of my life. I mean, that would be incredibly anxiety inducing. So I think many employers have realized, like, well, okay, if we can, should we, right? One example.
Yeah. So just thank you for sharing that. I totally agree. So we have a couple people in the studio, so I'm going to bring them in. They're not on camera and on mute, but I'm wondering if there's a problem with our streaming service, because they're under a lot of comments, and I typically have a lot more comments. Leslie, can you join us on camera and microphone? Maybe that's not what you
Sure. I never used StreamYard before, so I wasn't expecting to be on camera.
Were we not streaming live? Or were we
live?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that you could see us live. Yeah, that's why I put up the link, and that's okay that you're not on camera. That's not what you intended. I put up the link just in case people want to join us to actually to be on live if they haven't had that opportunity before. So I will take you out unless you have a question or a thought you'd like to share.
No, I don't have any questions or any thoughts, but I do appreciate the conversation. I'm a mom of 4 myself, and I currently a single mom because I divorced 7 years ago, and so I understand and fully live the struggles of single moms. Trying to do your best to be the best mom that you could be, as well as the best employee that you can be, and just trying to be stellar on all avenues. But it's hard to be the best everywhere, and it's hard and it's exhausting. And so I appreciate what Joanna was saying, what she encouraged that one lady on the plane, just to outsource what you can and automate what you can, because as much as one of my philosophies for the last, 5 years or so is that it's all about mom sanity. Like, how can we keep mom sane in the midst of, making sure that the children have all that they need mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, making sure that they are all good. But how can we make sure mom is all good in the process? How can, maybe that means chicken nuggets with broccoli today because that's what's good for mom today, and to be okay with that. And I think COVID has been great just to allow more accommodations. I work at a university, and we still have not been fully back on campus since, everything kind of shifted last year. And currently I work at home in the mornings and then I'm on campus in the afternoons, but it works. It works and allows me to be there for my children in the morning, make sure I can get them off to school. My daughter, she's in high school and she comes home at 10:30 and then does the rest of her school from home. But being home in the morning, it allows me to pick her up from school and bring her home, get everything settled before I head off to campus. And so those types of accommodations have been super helpful with COVID. So
Yeah, thank you for sharing, and thank you for that. That's a mic drop moment right there. The mom sanity.
You can't pour from an empty cup. I love that.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Leslie, for sharing. I will let you go. I'll take you out. We have someone else in our studio, so
thank you.
We're gonna bring Molly on. Hi, Molly.
Hi.
Did I surprise you?
Totally.
Well, thank you for joining us. Did you have any thoughts you wanted to share?
I just think it's been an interesting journey. When I had my first kid 15 and a half years ago, I was the breadwinner and at the alt weekly newspaper setting sales records. I had the health insurance. My husband was finishing his degree and working at another great position. And I was the first person at the newspaper to ever go on maternity leave.
Wow.
And it was crazy to figure out what that looked like. And it meant when my daughter was 8 weeks old, I brought her and I went to work for 5 hours. And then when she was 9 weeks old, I brought her and I went to work for 10 hours. And then when she was 10 weeks old, I went to work for 15 hours. And she would just sit on my desk. And I realized in hindsight, it was like a terrible maternity leave. And when our kids are 6 years apart, and when I had my second child, I owned my own company at that time, and it was radically different. I had no problem bringing my son with me to stuff and my kids to things in our town, and so many people were used to seeing them at things because I sort of got really good at saying no, but also really good at being like, yes, with my kid, deal with it. And I remember a woman who's a good friend of mine now and has always been in that mentor-mentee ongoing relationships, who's about 10 years younger than me, saying, how did you get to be so unapologetic about your motherhood? And I was like, well, I made a lot of mistakes with my first kid. And then I had my second kid when I was 38 and I didn't give any F's anymore.
Yeah.
So, it was, Joanna, like you said, it wasn't about leaning in, it was about leaning out.
I love that. I love that
too. Thank you so much for sharing and for joining us. I love it when people hop in live. So thank you. Did you have any other thoughts or any questions or?
I just think we don't set up, it's not even that we don't set up moms and dads for success with a lot of the systems that we have, but when we look at a broad, long tail economic opportunity for kids and for parents and for moms and for mental health and for just like overall expansion and safety, if it's so important that we have these GDP and economic gains and growth and this or that, I think that our short-term solution, which right now is very crappy maternity and paternity leave, is a long-term suicide to economic health, to mental health, to all sorts of things. And that it is very easy to say, take your 3 months or, and then maybe you have we've all learned remote work works. So, and then maybe you work remotely for a few months or however that is, or flexible schedules, having a more results-oriented work environment. And I recognize there are positions where that's not realistic. You need to be present if you're a nurse or a surgeon or certain things like that. But there are numerous opportunities for results-oriented work environments. So also as a manager, if you have hired the right person, to lean out, to just back off, right? And trust that give people the break they need, and then trust that they're going to do their job. What happens is you have less turnover, you have less burnout, and you have advocates, like die-hard people of a love affair with your company because you cared about them. Like we just need a little bit more care.
It's building that loyalty. And I 100% agree with you. I mean, the amount of like not only the maternity leave and the paternity leave, but also solving childcare. Like for single moms that are out there, how do they have the support to be able to work and have childcare? And, you know, when kids get sick and everything, there's a podcast that I love that, well, you know, it talks about the topic. I don't know that I love it. I love it in the respect that it's trying to come up with various solutions to solve the childcare crisis. And so it's called No One's Coming to Save Us. And it talks about all of the different stories and the struggle of why we need to solve childcare and why it's so important. When I look at stories about how, you know, they have like the National Guard doing substitute teaching in New Mexico because there's a teacher shortage and all the teachers are leaving because they're not getting enough money and they can't go into, you know, just the entire system has to be fixed. And how is that system going to be fixed if it's not moms who are advocating for it? Because, you know, we're the ones who are the most impacted.
Right.
Yeah, if a teacher is going to make more money at Panda Express than they are teaching, then the system is clearly broken. When part of the reason our kids are so far apart in age is when the previous recession happened, my husband and I both lost our job. So we were a dual income family with dual unemployment. And I remember thinking, I don't want to lose our house. And we looked at how we could cut our budget by about 60%. I mean, we like cut, you know, we actually never ended up getting cable or satellite TV back because, you know, things change. But like we cut, you know, the amount of cell phone, then, you know, your minutes packages, that was, you know, 14 years ago. So we cut so many expenses. We got our daughter onto the state subsidized healthcare for 6 months. And I remember going to her preschool. It's like bawling my eyes out. Like, I can't pay you. It was almost as much as a mortgage payment. And I was like, I can't, I'm so embarrassed. Like, I don't even, she's like, first of all, that woman was amazing. She totally counseled me, but she sent me to a local resource where I could get a 1 month stipend because like I had to go to job interviews. So I couldn't pull my kid out of daycare or lose her spot. And everyone knows that inconsistent preschool is terrible for children. And this particular preschool happened to have food included. Well, we all know nutrition is imperative for children. We know a consistent environment is imperative for children. Like it's a very easy solution to handle actually healthcare, nutrition, and education all in one place. And it was unbelievable to me how demoralizing that feels. And then I thought about all the single parents I know, all of my friends from different socioeconomic areas of our community. And I thought to myself, they get shamed all day long and they're crushing it. Like, so it's broken. It's a broken system.
It's entirely broken. And you're right. Every mom I know is out there crushing it. Like just
all of them.
Amazing
all
things.
of them.
All of them. And they're rising above every challenge and difficulty that they face, but they don't get seen the same way in all the places that they show up. And that's why I think these stories that we share are so important to create that awareness. And I thank you so much, Molly, for sharing. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad you hopped in.
Thanks for the chat.
Yeah. If I could just say one thing and my biggest takeaway, and I don't want to come off as, you know, braggadocious as far as my hitting quota.
Yes.
I share that simply because as a mother and as a woman in sales, I've felt repeatedly that I have to prove myself constantly. And I know that I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
my biggest takeaway is becoming a mother in sales is my being a mother has literally zero to do with my professional ability.
Oh, I would say
I mean,
for me, I would say that being a mother has made me a better professional, more empathetic, and like it's for me personally, and
sure.
that's not everyone. Like it's helped me grow as a person to show up differently because I'm a mom. And
Yes, I agree with that. I mean, in the sense that for all of the ways that society portrays us, like you're going to do this or you're not going to do right, like all of the things that come at us, you know, that has never, that's always a non-issue. 100% agree with the empathy and the time management. I mean, that's absolutely. But I feel like we've been able to overcome so much as mothers, and every mother I know sincerely, genuinely, deeply cares for her children and for everything that she has going on. And of course we care to do a good job at work. We have to provide. So
you're
I'm
amazing.
coming up on time. I'm
That
incredibly
you've already gone over, but I
opportunity.
want to like virtually hug you. You're amazing, and
Thank
I
you.
am
Same.
so happy to know you and to
Same.
appreciate you coming on to share your story and be vulnerable and all of that. And I know you're going to continue to do amazing things in your career, and I can't wait to be cheering you on. I don't have anyone scheduled right now. I was going to try and do a ladies happy hour around Mother's Day, but you know, I'm totally failing at time management.
No. We need to do less. Yes, I think the only thing that's worth putting on my plate right now is to change our parental leave policy for both mothers and fathers. We can't sell puppies. It's against the law before 8 weeks. But if you're a mom, go back to work. So,
That's amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much for
thank
joining
you.
me.
I really appreciate it.
We're going to call it a day. I'm surprised
Yes.
we didn't have more people in the chat. I was going to give away a book. If Molly wants one for hopping in, she could totally have one. But I'm surprised we didn't get a lot of, maybe people were just listening. They had nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
thank you to both Leslie and Molly. Those are both very profound contributions. And thank you, Jen.
Grateful, very grateful. And thank you for anyone who takes the time to watch this and just absorb it, and appreciate you. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.